This is the first ever fighting game I played. During the boom of the arcades, I was but a young kid watching Sesame Street and Arthur, so while I skipped out on this era of fighting games, I remember button mashing in games like Street Fighter 2, Third Strike, and the Alpha series. But it wasn't until consoles were in every house where I would start to play more regularly at a friend's house, with one of the fighting games that I remember going to my friend's house to play over and over again being BlazBlue. While we were still essentially a bunch of kids button mashing, this was the first time I think the concept of quote main started to stick with us. My friend was the Arakune guy, my other friend was the Hakumen guy, and I was the Taokaka guy. And I think my fascination with people picking their favorite characters to play really stems from this game. My friend liked funny looking characters, hence why he picked Arakune, though the lore begs to differ. My other friend liked cool characters, hence why he picked Hakumen, and I like cats, hence why I picked Taokaka. And maybe that's why a lot of my content now has to do with characters specifically, because I look at these characters and I can't help but think of my friends and the good times we shared back in the day. This is my favorite character in BlazBlue. While I explained Taokaka being my first ever quote main in fighting games, I actually did not stick with her as the franchise evolved from one game to the next. In fact, right now I'd consider myself more of a Mai main than I am a Taokaka main because she's the only character I exclusively played in Central Fiction so far. I picked Taokaka in the original BlazBlue because I thought she was hilarious and she still is, but when I'm trying to sweat it up with my homies now, I play Mai because she just fits the hand better. I know she's on the easier side of characters to pick up, but it's rare for me to just instantly click and understand a character from the get-go, and her ability to dash in with her many mobility options is fun and oddly intuitive for me. And maybe it's the rushdown player side of me that just enjoys moving and outmaneuvering my opponents, but Mai just offers me the experience and all the dopamine that I'm looking for in that playstyle. So my favorite character in BlazBlue is Mai, but I'll always have a soft spot for the cat. This is unfortunately my favorite League of Legends champion. I want this series to showcase both the good side of me and the bad side of me, which unfortunately includes the fact that I am, in fact, a dirty League of Legends player. It feels like abuse any time I open the game, but for some reason I'm still addicted, still playing, and laying down traps with Caitlyn. For the longest time I considered myself an Ezreal main. In fact, up until last year he was basically my go-to champion whenever I needed a blind pick or a comfort champion, and was my highest mastery character. But with all the changes happening time and time again, I find myself defaulting to a new champion in Caitlyn. But honestly, no complaints from me. I like having big range, I like outplaying my opponents with smart trap placement, and Arcane makes me like the character even more. I hope Arcane Season 2 can give Caitlyn a bit more screen time, but most importantly, that goofy steampunk hat that she wears in game. She looks great, but she obviously isn't Caitlyn without her hat, right? This is my favorite Guilty Gear character. I've funnily enough played every Guilty Gear game, including the original many years later on my Switch, cause I was just morbidly curious. And while I've played a lot of different characters, I find myself always defaulting back to the classics in Kai. Now, I don't know what it is about Kai that I like so much, but I think in a game that has a lot of interactions thanks to Roman Cancel, having a all-arounder character really helped me get started with learning the game. That isn't to say Kai doesn't have tools though. In Exert, my most played Guilty Gear title, Kai has the Durandal Call that can extend his fireballs into just a block of hurt boxes. Putting my friends in that blender and then having them guess was a lot of fun. It added a layer of interactivity that I think my brain just found enjoyable. Plus, he's just cool. When I first saw the movie in Strive where he Dragon installed for the first time, I was blown away. And while Strive Kai doesn't hit the same for me, I think it's safe to say he's my favorite Guilty Gear character. This is my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I'm an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player in the fact that I was the perfect age for when the first structure decks were released while the anime was airing, teaching us all how to play the game incorrectly. Look, we could barely read and the anime said Toon World protects Toon Summon's Skull, how are we supposed to beat that? But as time went on and we stuck with the game, we all found our decks that we enjoy, and for me, that deck is Heroes. I played almost every iteration of a good Heroes deck in Diamond Dew Turbo, Gemini Heroes, Dark Law Control, etc., but I'm finding the current Heroes stuff in Master Duel with the links to be the most fun I've ever had with the deck. Thanks to the addition of Vision Heroes, it just makes comboing off so much more fun, and ending in a super cool nostalgia boss monster like Shining Flare Neo's Wingman as a nod to Jaden's graduation duel is so sick. This deck brings out a lot of things in me. The child in me, the anime fan in me, the sweaty gamer in me, even if heroes aren't top tier, and most importantly, it keeps Yu-Gi-Oh just so much fun for me many years later. This is my favorite Grand Blue vs. Rising character. Look, I didn't say my favorites were on the morally good side of the compass, and I'm also very aware of the memes that this character gets, but Belial is my favorite character in Rising. He's a total scumbag, and I think that's one of the reasons as to why people don't like to fight him. He's tricky, he's aggressive, and he seemingly has tools for just about any situation that is also just absurdly strong. It would not be a far out statement to say that I'm carried by how good this character is because I just get away with so much without any of the consequences that other characters might face. Now, is he as launch near good or Siegfried good right now? No, of course not. But I don't think Belial will ever fall below top 5 in terms of character strength just because of the absurd tools he has. But if it is any consultation, I also do like to dabble in Lucilius from time to time because 1, he shares a VA with my favorite Blue Law character, and 2, I guess I just have a thing for edgy evil bosses when it comes to character selection in Rising. This is my favorite P4AU character. Under Night wasn't the only fighting game that BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle introduced me to, it also introduced me to the Persona 4 fighting game. I had played Persona 3 and 4 by this point in time, so I was well aware of all the characters, but on release of the PC port of the game, I randomly decided to try out the new OC for the game, Minazuki, and something just clicked me. Now I understand this character is probably the easiest to play, but for someone that has a hard time adjusting to a new system mechanic on launch, having a character that clicked with me immediately is again rare. I usually have to work something out with the character even if their playstyles work for me and is the ideal fit for what I'm looking for. But having teleports, rekkas, and an all-out attack that crosses you up for free just gave me so many options that gave my tiny rushdown brain so much dopamine. And while I did mess around a bit with Mitsuru in Cross Tag, that game lied to me. She's a charge motion character in Arena Ultimax, and I'm not the biggest fan of charge motions, so I'm glad I at least found Sho Minazuki and Sho Minazuki to play. This is my favorite type Lumina character. I already know what the comments are going to say. Vlav is toxic, Vlav players are so carried, Vlav can perish into the bottom tier, and while all of this is true, I promise you I don't play this character because he was strong. That was just an additional bonus. I played this character because he shares a VA with Kenjiro Suda, my GOAT. I remember watching the trailer to Type Lumina not being all that excited about the game until I watched the Vlav trailer and recognized Seto Kaiba's voice from a mile away. Look, I know this video is supposed to be about Vlav, but I swear to you, I could care less if he was a top or bottom tier. I play him because I wish I had as sexy of a voice as Kenjiro Suda. Bro, listen to me in my own videos. I sound like I barely made it through puberty the way my voice cracks sometimes. So really, if it wasn't for Vlav being voiced by my GOAT, I probably would have skipped this game entirely since I was never really into Melty Blood anyways. So thank God for Kenjiro Suda for showing me how cool this game is. This is my favorite Under Night character. I've said this time and time again, but Byakuya is my favorite Under Night character and probably my favorite fighting game character of all time. And this statement doesn't come easy for me. Under Night is home to so many cool characters, cool ideas, all wrapped up in an awesome system mechanic and grid that saying one of the characters as a definitive favorite almost feels like a crime. On top of this, I'm constantly messing up Byakuya combos to this day, even though I've spent countless hours in the lab, hence why I call myself the strongest Under Night soldier, but the worst player to walk the night. But there was something inspiring about the way Clearlamp played at EVO Finals in ST that got me hooked into trying out this character in particular, despite wanting to play Yuzuriya at the start, which thank God I didn't. And perhaps the most awesome thing about this character, win or lose, I'm having fun. I'm still f***ing up the web setups, choking mid-match, but I still wake up and have these urges to keep practicing the character because Byakuya is just that cool.